Michelle Carter, and I am the owner of MCB Nurse Consultant. I'm the #1 DON coach that helps directors and nurses in long-term care to overcome their exhaustion and frustration of having to do it all. Today, I want to talk to all my directors and nurses and my RN supervisors how to give you tips and tidbits of how directors and nurses can elevate their RN supervisors to the level that they need to be in leadership. Before we get started, I want you to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, MCB Nurse Consultant LLC. Let's get started. So today I want to talk to you about being a director of nursing and how I've been able to elevate my supervisors, where I want to give you tidbits that you can help elevate your supervisors. One things we have to realize is being an RN supervisor is a challenging job, especially for our evening and night and weekend supervisors, our off-shift supervisor. I had a mentor years ago who told me, but even when I was a director of nurses, I had coaches outside of the facility that helped me tell me being an RN supervisor is probably the second hardest job to being a director of nursing. And let me tell you why. Our RN supervisors, especially on our evening shift, they are mini DONs. They're in charge of your admissions. They're in charge of any problem concerns that you may have, staffing concerns. They're in conflict resolution. They're in charge of. They're also in charge of dealing with maintenance problems, unplugging the toilets, dealing with housekeeping, dealing with resident care issues, and they do all that with a skeleton crew, without having the support of the DON, the administrator, the social worker, therapy, without having the support of all those in the building. So as a director of nursing, you want to be able to elevate them and give them the support that they need so they can go to that next level. One thing I want to talk to you about is emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is something that, as nurses, we're really not being taught emotional intelligence in nursing school. I learned more about emotional intelligence from being a nurse entrepreneur than I ever did being a director of nursing or a nurse. But being able to have that emotional connection with your RN supervisor can really change the whole relationship. But before you can get that emotional connection and see where they're at on the emotional intelligence scale, you need to know who you are working with, what type of personality the RN supervisor has, and knowing your own personality. As you know, I'm a coach and trainer for the Bank methodology, and I recommend the Bank methodology for every nurse leader and every nurse that is in healthcare, especially long-term care, that you can use as a communication tool, as you can use as a relationship builder, and use it as a way of increasing your own emotional intelligence and teaching your team emotional intelligence. Once you find out what their personality code is, then you're going to understand how to communicate and how to relate to them better. But until you get to that level, it's always going to be a struggle. With the emotional intelligence, one of the second biggest thing you want to understand is truly understanding self-awareness. You want your RN supervisor to understand self-awareness for themselves. But in order for them to understand self-awareness, sometimes we have to be the example and understand our own self-awareness and show them how to do that. So that's something you want to know, self-awareness. Are you aware that you have a strong personality? Are you aware that you might be a passive-aggressive person? Are you aware of, how you handle situations when you're frustrated? Are you aware that you might be a more reactive than a proactive type of leader? Are you aware of your leadership skills? Those are things that you want to be able to be aware of yourself, and then it will trickle down to your team, and you can teach your RN supervisor that. You also want to be able to be motivative to your team. Being motivated to your team in order to be motivated to your team, you have to have that motivation in yourself. And us being the directors of nursing, sometimes that could be a challenge because we're overwhelmed, we're stressed out, we're frustrated, but you have to take time, do that self-care, and remember why you're in the position that you're in. And in order for you to motivate your team, you have to be motivated. Is it motivated to get that next great survey? Is it motivated to not have any falls this week? Is your motivation is to reduce your pressure ulcers? What is the motivation that you're going to strive for your team? And then you want them to strive for it, and help your RN supervisor be involved with that. You want to include your RN supervisor in some of the decisions that you make. That's going to help motivate and help that relationship. And just having connections with them, having a talk with them. What is the harm of staying until 6 o'clock sometimes just to relate and see if your RN supervisor is okay? Do they need extra support? Are you helping them when they need extra support? Are you just checking in and asking them, are they okay? What do they need from you? And just having those conversations. Building that rapport with them is so, so, so important. Are you answering the phone when they're calling? Or are you just ignoring them? Or are you giving them strategies and making them feel comfortable to call you when they need that assistance? That's something that as a director of nursing is going to help increase that emotional connection with your RN supervisors. We're having a free webinar on September 19th at 7 p.m. Directors of nurses lead with care, elevating RN supervisors in long-term care. I want you as a director of nursing to come and join that free workshop, free webinar, and I want you to bring your RN supervisor because I want you to be able to get some tidbits that y'all both be able to work together and be able to increase quality outcomes. Now, as far as your relationship with your nighttime supervisor, you may be a little even more distant with your nighttime supervisor because you might not think they need as much assistance, but they truly, truly do. Your nighttime supervisor is still dealing with staffing issues. They may not have to deal with family issues as much, but they're definitely dealing with staffing issues. They're dealing with the lack of having that support in the building, whether it's the maintenance support, housekeeping support, social service, all those type of things. Are you giving them that? Are you giving that support? Are you checking in with them, making sure they're okay? Are you giving them certain tasks and then following up to make sure they're okay and making sure that they need the support that they get? Because remember, if you have admissions coming on the evening shift, it's going to trickle down to the night shift, making sure they're checking the charts, making sure everything's in place, making sure that they're doing that audit and dealing with staffing issues. And don't even forget that sometimes these supervisors are on the cart while they're doing all this. So what processes do you have in place to help them emotionally when they are on the cart? And those are things you want to be able to give to your RN supervisor. You want to have empathy with them. Remember how it was when you were a supervisor. And if you've never been a supervisor in long-term care, remember how it was wherever you started at. Whether you were a supervisor in the hospital system, if you were in home care, hospice care, wherever you're at, remember how it was when you didn't have the support that you needed and how you felt. So have that type of empathy. Remember that our RN supervisors are many DONs where we're not there. They're a representation of our directors and nurses. They are part of your leadership team. Include them in decisions that need to be made that's going to affect them, and give them the autonomy for their teams. I was an RN supervisor, and I totally understand how it is. And I understand when you don't have that connection with your DONs. You also want to remember, where did they start out at? Are they new to long-term care? Have that empathy that they might not understand how long-term care is. You may have somebody coming from the hospital system and they're used to sending people out to the hospital without looking at readmission rates. Or you give them the tools that they need and giving them the support that they need. Are you making sure that they have good relationship with the doctors and the on-call doctors? Those are type of things that you want to be empathetic to them and give them the support. And just understand, sometimes our team has the same frustrations that we have. And I know we're trying to put the fires out, and we're trying to build our teams up, and we're trying to, say regulatory compliance and reduce risk. But again, everything is based on your staffing and your relationships with your staff. Because without the staff and without good relationships, none of our jobs are going to be successful, and we're not going to be able to have great outcomes for our residents. And that's the most important thing. Quality outcomes for your residents. Putting a smile on that resident's face, knowing that they're getting good care. Putting a smile on that family member's face, knowing that they feel safe, that we're taking care of their residents. I want you to take some of these tidbits and take them back to your team and start working on them. I hope to see you on September 19th at 7 p.m. Directors of Nurses Lead with Care, elevating RN supervisors in long-term care. I think this is a conversation that is needed. And as I was talking to multiple nurses, they were wondering what could we do, multiple DONs and other nurse leads, what we can do to connect with our RN supervisors. I don't think a lot of DONs realize how important that relationship is. So I want you to come and join our our webinar. Again, September 19th at 7 p.m. I can't wait to see you there. Bring your RN supervisor with you. Bring your ADON with you. Come together as a team so y'all can learn techniques of how you can build those relationships and elevate them to the level they need to be on. I want you to have a great day, and I'll see you on September 19th. See you soon.